Hey y'all, how you doing today? So last night I posted a short on avocado dyeing. And so I dried it all in the oven, and I have two different stacks here because I did it two different ways. So let's go with this pile first because this is the first set that I dried. Now, I don't prefer to dry my paper in the oven because it makes the house so hot, and I think the high is over 80 degrees today. Plus, you also get these lines, and sometimes it's kind of cool and sometimes it's not. So, I got some really gorgeous color. I did not put a lot of solution in the pan. Right, check that out. Isn't that gorgeous? And so I dye my papers, or I soak my papers overnight, and I very carefully use tweezers to get them apart so I don't end up tearing anything. And I was extremely lucky or extremely careful today because I did not tear one page. I can tell you, though, this is the page that was on the very, very bottom. And I say that only because my pan has an X across it. And this is indented. And I use this for paper only because there's a rust spot in there. And so I don't use it for food. But what I did with these, right, like this one here, how I do my papers is I put in one and then I put in another, and then I put in one and I put in another, and I keep doing it that way because that is the trick to taking the tweezers and pulling the paper up as softly as possible in a corner so you can get the edge up just enough to stick your finger under there so that way you don't tear paper. But because I didn't want all the lines in there, what I did was I took a piece of parchment and I stacked two on there, and then I put a parchment and I stacked two, and another piece of parchment and I stacked two, and I got enough to put, there was 9 of them. So I had 3 in each, on each shelf in my oven. If you look at this one, it looks a little brown. It got a little toasty, and that was because it was on the very bottom shelf. But for the most part, like, just look at this gorgeousness. Look at this yummy paper. And I still have solution left over. I only put enough in that it would cover the paper because I put the papers in first and then I put the solution in last. And so that's where some of these, like this part here, didn't get any solution on it, even though I put a glove on my hand and I mash it down like this so everything gets wet. Because I put the paper in first, there is going to be some sections of the paper that don't get as much, if any, solution at all. So that's that. And I was cleaning out my cabinets, and I came across this lime flavored sugar-free Jello. This is actually gelatin dessert, and I'm debating on whether to use this or not because I don't know if it's gonna stay liquid enough to actually dye paper with, but it expired in 2020, so I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll see what happens. So I hope you're having a nice crafty day. I hope you enjoy my beautiful yumminess here that I've got on my desk that I can use. And stay tuned for a video on this lime flavored sugar-free Jello because that's what's gonna be next. Happy crafting!